Hello and welcome back again. My name is Steven, and today, welcome to Patch Notes. Today we'll be looking at the patch 7.9 for League of Legends, which is actually a really interesting patch because it is going to be the mid-season patch that is going to shake up the game. It's got a few nice changes to it, and before I start, I will not be covering everything. So 3 champions have been updated, and I will only be talking about the abilities that have been also updated, enough to actually warrant being talked about. For example, when I start talking about Maokai, I will only be talking about Maokai's E and R, because they are the only 2 abilities that actually received major changes, whereas Q and W stayed relatively the same, so I'm not going to be talking about them. And that is going to be the very common thing. Also, items have also been changed. I will not be talking about all of the items, because there's been a lot of changes to tank items, and also a lot of changes to AD carry items. I will only be talking about the new items, and items I think that are more warranted to be talked about than others. Other than that, let's actually jump straight into it. And as always, remember that this will be a video that's quite short, because I want to do these extremely short, so it's like a bit of a fast lighting round. So, let's begin. So, as you guys should know, there were in total 2 new skins in this patch, and they will be going to the Dark Stars theme, which currently is held by Varus and Thresh. So, who are these new champions joining this little roster? Well, first of all, we have the Void monster itself that's been a very dominant force this year in the meta, being Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix is getting the new Dark Star theme, and it is looking beautiful. Other than him, we also have another little terror in the mid lane, or there's not really much of a terror really, but the Bull Commander of Orianna will also be joining the Dark Star theme, and boy do these skins look absolutely cool. So if you guys want to see them fully, then I recommend go check out Surrender at 20, or go check out the good old guy on YouTube called Skin Spotlights. He has all of them there. Go check it out. It's pretty damn cool. Other than that, we have new chromas coming in this patch, and the chromas before 3 different skins. The first one is going to be Sandstorm Echo. It's pretty cool. Some of these textures actually look really nice. Other than that, we then have the Warlord Shen, which again looks pretty damn cool. And I like the fact that on the flag itself, each one actually has a different design, which is actually really, really nice. And finally, we have Officer Vi. Again, these looks pretty cool. And if I was going to recommend one, definitely get the black one. The black one definitely looks a lot cooler for Vi. Other than that, that's all the chromas and skins in this patch. It's a nice selection, so if you are interested in any of them, get them. I'm not sure when they're going to be out, though. Just be wary of that. Other than that, we have the new champions, as I said earlier, that have received some reworks. So, starting off with the glorious Maokai. Maokai's E actually received a small bit of a change. So, the base ability itself is the exact same. However, there has been an addition to this. If the little sapling thingy is thrown into a bush, it will now upgrade it, quote unquote. Where it will... So what it will do now is that it will be doubled on all of its stats, so the damage it does and all of that. Also, it has like this sticky effect where the minion will blow up on someone and 2 smaller ones will be on them, and they will also continue to blow up, which is actually pretty cool. And the whole idea is because it actually does double damage, so the first one does the normal damage and the second one does its next bit of damage, which is damn cool if you ask me. An interesting way of updating a champion. Other than that, we have Maokai's new ultimate, which Maokai summons a colossal wall of brambles and thorns, which slowly advances towards the enemy, dealing damage and routing the first enemy hit by each thorn. I'm not too sure how many there are in these thorns. I think there's about 6 of them, or maybe like 7 or 8, I don't know. But the idea of this is basically it's a mixture of Namiel with Zyra E, but it stops on the first enemy hit, which is actually interesting. I'm not too sure how Maokai is going to be favoured, but he looks quite cool. Next up, we have Sujani. Sujani has received a new passive called Frost Arm. Well, it's actually called Fury of the Winds. It has 2 different parts of it called Frost Armor and Icebreaker. So Frost Armor is just what you stereotypical think of armor. She gets some armor after a little short time, and well, it's armor and magic resist. However, the big key thing that you want to take away from this is that once this armor is applied, you will no longer be affected by slows for a few seconds while the damage has gone through on you. It will then break and you will lose that slow immunity, which is actually interesting. It's an interesting thing for Sujani, and it definitely might be nice. And second of all is Icebreaker. Any enemy is frozen by Sujani, and she auto attacks with she does an auto attack or a spell, it will deal 10% of the maximum health as magic, and it does some damage to monsters as well. Next up, we have her new W called Winter's Wrath. So at the moment, that's where you just start flinging your baton thingy around. I can't remember what it's called. But now she will swing it around once and then slam it down, so it's a bit more unique in terms, so it's not just an AoE thing. Well, it's interesting. Go check it out. It's more one of these things that you need to check out rather than just me talking about it. Next up, we have Sujani's new ultimate, which basically she throws it at Ice Bowler, and instead of just freezing everybody in the area, or only freeze one, and everybody else around will become slowed, and also allow the setup for E. Also, one thing that I've not mentioned from her W is that all melee champions can also apply it, so there's that. Then we have the final change to Zack. Zack has now got a new Q where he flings out one arm. If he hits an enemy and then auto-attacks another enemy, both of those enemies will then slam together, so it gets more CC. And finally, we have his new ultimate, which he will now gloop onto the floor, and after a brief channel time, he will be able to drag them all off and drag them to wherever he wants, being a more CC. However, if you instantly let this go, so as soon as you activate your R and you instantly stop it, it will basically be like the old ultimate, but it will only bounce once and knock up everybody. So it's an interesting way of doing that. So that's all of the changes. Next up, we have some extra stuff. So starting off, we have new icons, which will be representing the Dark Star theme, and also there'll be a new game mode added into this patch, which I will not be talking about. That will also be doing this. The new splash art changes, which will be for the new 3 champions, or just 2 because they're not updating Zacks. So you've got 3 Maokai's and 3 of Sujani's, which I'll quickly flash on the screen that you guys can see them. They all look pretty damn cool in my opinion. And finally, we have the new ward coming in this patch, which is the Dark Star ward. Looks pretty damn cool in my opinion, just as much as everything else. And then finally, but not least, we have items. So starting off with the new items, we have Adaptive Helm. The idea of this one is that once you start taking damage from a spell, if you keep taking damage from the same spell, it'll be reduced by 15% for 4 seconds. So things such as Syndra Q or Cassiopeia E, as they will spam this ability on you, it will get weaker. Well, it'll get weaker straight away as soon as they've activated on you, and it has some pretty nice stats. Other than that, we then have the new Goggle Stone Plate, which the idea of that is if 3 enemies are near you, it grants you more bonus armor and magic resist. However, it has an active to it where you will get an increased health by 40% and you get increased damage size. However, you'll deal 60% less damage for 4 seconds. And if you have the first part of this active, so the passive bit, where there's 3 enemies or more around you, the health bonus will be increased by 100% rather than the 40%, which makes this a really good tank item if you don't really care about the damage, such as Maokai, maybe Nautilus, things that just don't care about the damage. Other than that, we have some changes to the support items. So they've updated all of the support items to do this mini quest. So Ancient Coin, which will... The idea of this one is that you will have to earn gold using this. And the upgrade you will get is called Exile of the Skill, which basically gives you an extra level for free, which is interesting. Then we have Relic Shield, which once you've earned so much gold, it will upgrade it to where the permanent shield will now generate slowly outside of combat, so you get a shield before you go into fight. And finally, we have Spell Thief's Edge, which once you've earned enough gold, you will then earn an upgrade where once you proc it, it will now give you a burst of movement speed, which is also pretty cool. And the final one I just want to quickly mention that is not too much of a big deal, but I just wanted to mention it anyway, is that Banshee's Veil and Abyssal Scepter items have switched their stats. Sorry. So the idea is that Banshee's Veil is no longer a tank item, and Abyssal Scepter is now a tank item. So there you go, if you want to look at them, that's that. Other than that, the little last bit of stuff I want to talk about is that they've updated all of the like CC effects on the champion, so you can actually see a lot more information. So this is things like when you've been charmed, it have a little charmed icon. If you have been rooted, it will say rooted. And they've also updated things like summoner spells, so they're a lot more clear to you. They've updated death visuals, so everybody has a lot more information that they can play with, which is really, really nice. Other than that, we've updated Rift Herald. Rift Herald is now pretty damn cool, and the idea of this is meant to be like a battling ram, so go check that out if you have. And finally, the most important change in this patch is Graves now has his cigar back. Yeah. What else is there to say? Other than that, guys, that is in the entire patch. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff I did not talk about, because there's, things like Static Shiv. There was changes to Fire Cannon. There was even changes to some of the tank items, such as Guardian Angel, and things like that. But I will not be talking about them. And I will leave a link down below for you guys to go check them out if you want to. Other than that, guys, hope you've all enjoyed. And yeah, these videos will be a lot shorter than this one. I know this one was a little bit longer than what I said it would be. But the idea that this is a mid-season patch, so there is a lot of stuff to talk about. But other than that, guys, hope you've all enjoyed. And I'll see you all next time. Till then, everyone, peace out.